So I'm walking to work this morning and I've got my Nauvoo hat on, and I just got done watching, well, I haven't finished the video, but just before leaving to walk to work, I was watching Mormon Book Review, which is this YouTube channel / podcast by this evangelical Protestant named Stephen Pinecker, who is fascinated with the Mormon tradition and interviews people across the spectrum of that tradition, and is a very I really like his show, for one thing, because he's just interested in it, and he doesn't really take I think maybe not a value-based approach. I guess that's a bad way of putting it, but he doesn't have an axe to grind. He doesn't have a dog in the fight, But because of that, because he's genuine and interested, he's able to bring together voices from across the spectrum of that Mormon tradition, which really, sorry, I'm a little stuffed up this morning, which really shows how broad that spectrum is. It's something that, I grew up in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and that's the spectrum of the Mormon tradition is something you don't really acknowledge very often within there. You're the real ones, and everybody else are kooky polygamists or whatever. So it's interesting to watch a show, like I said, because you get that spectrum. But he had a panel on, and they were discussing President Oaks, Dallin H. Oaks, who's a member of the First Presidency of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, who recently spoke impromptu at a sacrament meeting in Belgium. He was there for a meeting later that night, but in the morning he went to a sacrament meeting and he spoke, and he made this comment. Kind of the way he makes it seems just like in passing, but he mentions this idea of Heavenly Mother or mothers, and that's caused a lot of conversation, which is what this panel gathered to discuss. And one of the panel members read this poem by Carolyn Pearson, which, God, she's just got this ability to just touch me right to the core, She's amazing. And so one of the panel members read this poem, and it was about, Carolyn Pearson comes from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints part of the Mormon tradition, and the poem is about, this idea of a Heavenly Mother, and that's it. That's all you get, is just this vague idea that that's a thing, and how to deal with that, and what that causes her to feel. And one of the friggin' panel members is Jacob Hansen, who is, he's an intelligent guy, but my goodness, that guy, if Carolyn Pearson knows how to touch me to my core, that guy knows how to play every nerve in me. Oh my goodness. He totally just dismisses her out of hand, dismisses that poem out of hand, like, oh, you could write poetry or whatever, just to promote his own kind of approach. And anyways, his approach makes me think of Neil Maxwell, where when you read Neil A. Maxwell, or when you read Harold B. Lee, and they touch on these topics where people are wanting more, and people are, theorizing, wondering, asking questions, probing for more information. They totally just shut them down. And the problem is, like, you are not supposed to be asking these questions. You are supposed to be accepting what we give you. It's like when Bruce R. McConkie went to that, I forget what the event is referred to as, but Bruce R. McConkie went to this gathering of scholars somewhere at Provo Canyon, or one of the canyons. They had this little retreat, and all these scholars of Mormon history, Mormon culture were gathered, and Bruce R. McConkie attended, and he had to be shut down by one of the organizers, and his basic approach was, I, Bruce R. McConkie, an apostle of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, I say what's what, and you, scholars, you just repeat what I say. And that's the Jacob Hansen approach, really. To me, when you sift through his philosophical academic language, when you sift through Neil Maxwell's portents of doom, what you're left with is, I get to say what's what, and you get to accept it, or you get to go away and be quiet. And I guess that touches my nerves, because that's something that I've experienced quite a bit, where, why would you talk about this? Why would you think about this? Why would you ask these questions? Why would you read these books? And then when I push back, and I'm like, look, you're way out of line for even framing it that way. I'm the one with the problem, I'm the one who needs to grow up. I'm the one who needs to be mature, and it's just, that's the thing that I have a hard time with these people. And that's why, that's why I stopped really attending and participating. And in a way it's a blessing in disguise, right? Because the feeling of it is very dismissive and very like, just go sit in the corner and be quiet. And when I'm not working on Sundays and I go with my daughter, that's what I do. I just sit in the corner and be quiet. But I wonder, had there been a space for me there, there isn't. There never was. There never was a space for me. For me to have a space there, I had to remake myself and conform myself to the desires and feelings of others, and arbitrarily so, because it was all just about confirming to them everything that they think about themselves, and never saying anything or asking anything that threatened that, So it has nothing to do with, truth or anything like that. It just has to do with maintaining, unquestionably, the identity that they manifest. So, anyways, like I said, it's a blessing in disguise, because had there been a place for me there, who knows, I might be one of these apologetic, I don't know that I'd be a Jacob Hansen type, but I might be like some of the others who just are not who I would want to be. So in a way, I'm glad that there's no space for me there.